So I'm going to record. I've started recording. Good morning, everybody. So what I wanted to cover today is the process that you have to follow or go through to publish your website. Okay. Now, depending on your host, you can use FTP, which is what we will be using today, or in some instances, they will probably require that you use something called cPanel, and that allows you to drag and drop your files into the host server into a specific folder. So I want to go through this step by step because it's really, it's nice that everybody has created this dynamic page that was, from the lessons, but it really does us no good unless we are able to publish it so that anybody can view it if they have a connection to the internet and they have a browser to view it on the web. So this is the last step for publishing or for this lesson, lesson 7. And once you get it published, then what you're going to do is you're going to email me at kirkmillerart@gmail.com. I think that's the one that I've been using. Yeah. And just attach the link, put that in the content of your email so that I can take a look at this page, and you'll get full credit for lessons 1 through 7 when I see this. Okay, so this is where we left off. On Tuesday, we completed lesson 6 or 7, I should say, sorry. So that, when we resize it, notice that, we go from a medium or large down to a small size, that the columns change, that we go from a 3 to a 2 column format, and that the right side jumps down to the bottom and it takes up 8 units as opposed to the 4 or the 3 that it took up before. Okay, and likewise, the main content here takes up 8 units instead of the 6. And then the left side also takes up 4 units, because remember, the total count has to be 12 units. So then I'll make it a little bit smaller. We go on a smartphone or even a tiny little tablet, and you can see that it stretches down or shrinks down to a really nice look and size. So it fits. This is really important in this day and age, to make sure that your website is responsive to all screen sizes, make sure that anybody anywhere can view it and view your website properly. Because in the past, what we would do is, if we were using tables to structure our pages, the only thing that it would do on a smaller screen is shrink it down, and it would get so small that it would be almost impossible to view. And it wouldn't be interactive either. You wouldn't be able to use a touch screen for your website. So it made it your website unusable if it was on a smartphone, or even if it was on a tablet. It really wouldn't work that well. Now it works both. I can use a mouse, I can use a touch screen, I can view it on any size. So the next step is, since we have created this locally, is that we need to publish it. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to show you here. Everybody should have, or if you haven't, then that's what you need to do today, is you need to go to infinityfree.net and create an account. It's free to sign up. Okay. So that link is on my website. If we go here, either on the weekly syllabi, that under web tools, you'll see that it's Infinity Free will take you to that page. Okie doke. Once you have signed up, one of the things that you'll probably have to do is you'll have to remember they will email you, and you'll have to, when you receive that email from them, you're going to have to confirm it, make sure that they know that it's you that is signed up, not somebody else. And then once you have signed up, you'll notice up here in the right-hand corner, I can go to the client area. So if I click here, you'll see that I have two signed up with their host. I have two sites that I have going here. Okay. The one that I'm using down here is website for Art 196, spring 2021. Okay. Now, I've already clicked on that, but what I can do is you can go to here to manage on either one of these, and it takes you, once you can go to the manage, it will show you under the control panel how you can manage all of these, how you can upload all your files. So if I go back here, notice that, I approve. Let's go back here. Thanks, the panel will now download. Okay, so I can either view that from here, and it allows me to go to the online file manager. That would be one of the ways of working with this. Okay, so I can upload files from here. And this is where you want to look. And if I double click on this htdocs folder, come on, let's open it. You can see that I have index.2 and I have files for your website are uploaded here. So this actually isn't the one that I want, but that's okay. Okay. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to use the one that I want for my website here. This is what I want. If you go to the control panel, that would be it. I want the file manager here. Okay, for FTP, to make sure that I see the FTP details. This is what I'm looking for because I'm going to use FTP, which stands for File Transfer Protocol, to upload the files from Dreamweaver to the host and publish it. Now, the information that we need is the FTP username. And notice that they've given us a username. Mine is EPIZ_26712901. I want to make sure that I show the FTP password. Now, if if it's just a series of little dots here, then click on show so that I can copy and paste that information into Dreamweaver. And then the last thing that you will need here is FTP hostname, and it's ftpupload.net. So we need these three elements right here. You need the FTP username, you need the FTP password that it assigns you. You don't assign it, it assigns you. And then you need the FTP host. So I have those three elements. And now I'm going to go back to Dreamweaver. So I've moved that aside for the moment, now that I have that information. So now what we do, we go up to our site, manage sites. And the last one that I used for Art 196 Spring 2021, I double click on that, okay? And I don't change the local folder because it should be linked to lesson 7. I don't change the link to the folder for the image folder because that should be also located inside lesson 7. I leave that alone. What I want to do is I want to add a server, and you can see that I've already added a server and I named it Infinity Free. So if you want to add a server, you click here. And this is where we put our information. Okay, we're going to connect using FTP. Here we put in the FTP address. That's the one that was given before that I told you about. That's the host name. That's ftpupload.net. And then here is where we paste the username. And here is where we paste the password. So I don't need to create a new one. I already have one here. And to get that information, once I have created it, I double click And this is where I put that information. I named it Infinity Free, just so I know which host I'm using. We're using FTP. The FTP address is ftpupload.net. And I just copied and pasted that information from Infinity Free's FTP information into these boxes here, the username and the password. Now, the next step that I want to do, and this is really critical, is I want to test this to make sure that it connects. So I'm going to click here, and it says Dreamweaver connected to your web server successfully. That's what you want to see. If it can't connect, then there's something wrong, and you need to keep working with it until it's fixed. Because until it can connect, you cannot upload any files. So I'm set to go. I can go ahead and I can save this, and I can go ahead and I can save that information here. So now I'm ready to upload this page. And there's one thing that I haven't done. I'm going to go ahead and bring this back down for a minute, because this is what it looks like when it's published. And you'll see that it says that the whole URL for my website is art196 intro to web design .infinityfreeapp.com. That's the whole thing. That does not roll off your tongue, but that is the whole URL to this website, and it is published. You are viewing it now inside a Firefox page. Okay. You'll notice up here though that the page itself is untitled. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a title to this page, and I'll just name it Art196 Spring 2021 Home Page. Naming pages or giving titles to your pages is critical, especially for people who are doing searches on the internet, Google searches, that these page titles are essential in helping your page come up to the top of the heap. So for every change that you make in a page, you need to refresh and upload it again. So that's what I'm going to do. That's one thing that I hadn't done. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to select the entire page. Let's go ahead and select the whole body down here. And notice that the document title is left untitled. So down at the bottom, let me go ahead and pull this up under the properties panel. I can either do this in the code view. So let's go ahead and split this so you can see where it's being affected. And it will be up here, remember, in the head of the document. Okay, and you can see right here under title, it's untitled document. So I can either click here. This is something that Dreamweaver automatically did, and I can highlight it either here and add the title, or I can do that up here in the properties panel. Since I've already clicked on in code view, I'm going to go ahead and add it here. So I'll put Art196. Spring 2021. And then I'm going to put home. So that's my home page. Now, if you just name your page home or about or something like that, that's okay, but it's too generic. And because there are thousands and thousands, probably millions of websites that have pages named home or about or portfolio or something, it's not going to help in the search. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Make sure that the page is saved. And to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and go File, Save All. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the properties panel back down here. So just so that that goes back up. Okay. So now I'm ready to refresh and upload that page again to make sure that it works. So to do that, I'm going to go over to the right and I'm going to make sure that files are selected. And when files are selected, there's a little button to the far right here. Okay, it says expand to show local and remote. And this is what I'm using FTP. This is what and I'm using Dreamweaver. This is what I prefer to look at. Actually, you know what? There's one extremely important thing that I forgot to do. And you'll notice that when we were working on the page itself, it could have been named anything, my layout, my working layout, it doesn't matter. But because this will be the first page that loads in the browser when you put in the URL, the file name that it has to have is index.html. So what you need to do, and I have already done this, as you can see at the top here, I have index.html, but when you're preparing to upload your page, you need to take whatever it is, if you have my layout, my working file, whatever file name it is, you need to go to File, Save As. Okay, let's bring that up and make sure that you name it index.html. And it won't overwrite the other file that you have, it will only add a new file to it. And that's what you want. It will be this page, since this is the first page that loads, have that file name. And again, it's important to remember that you do not capitalize index. It has to be lowercase, otherwise it won't recognize it. So that's really important. Yeah, I'm glad I remembered that before it was too late. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to expand this again. And you'll notice on the right here are all of the local files that exist in my root folder. I don't need to upload all of them. Okay, but I do need to upload most of them. So I'm going to go back over here and there's a little button up here. It looks like a male and a female plug. I'm going to connect, and that should now connect, just as we did with the test, to the remote server. And you can see it says HT access override, do not upload files here. You do not put them in this folder. You put them in htdocs. So when I click the little twirly here, you can see that I have already uploaded all of those files. So I'm going to start from scratch and show you how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to click here within htdocs, and I'm going to hit delete. And I'm just going to delete them all. So this is what you would do from scratch. And so now what you want to do within htdocs is this is where you want to place your files. So from over here, we have a CSS folder. This is essential because this contains the Bootstrap CSS. You want the fonts so that any additional fonts that were added that are an important part of the web page get added. The green style CSS that we created in our lessons need to be added. The images and the image folder needs to be added. The index.html, the page that I just created, needs to be added. And the JavaScript folder needs to be added. The rest of these at this moment, which are extra files that I have added, do not need to be added here. So I'm going to take one at a time. I could upload them all at once, but you also run the risk of it overloading and it failing and running into issues. So I tend to do just one at a time. So I'm going to take the entire CSS folder and drag it over onto the folder htdocs. And notice that it's preparing to upload. The little twirly pops down and I can see that CSS has been added. Now I'll go to the next one down and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload and put that, you just drag it on top of htdocs. If it lies outside of that and you put it in this other folder, it won't work. Now I'll go ahead and I'll add green style CSS and I'll drag that on top of that folder, htdocs, that's been added. I'll go ahead and I'll add the images. And the last two, index.html, which is kind of important. Nope. See, I accidentally put it in the CSS folder. That's no good. That has to go outside of that. So I'm moving it outside. There we go. If it was inside that CSS folder, it would not be visible. It would not see it and it wouldn't work. The last one is the JavaScript. Again, make sure that that is not on the CSS folder, but on the htdocs. So now they've all been uploaded. Okay. So now the last test is to come back over here. And I'm going to go back to my page here. And we can see that it says domain names. It says art196 intro to webdesign.infinityfree.com. I can go ahead and I can click on that link. And it opens in the browser. It opens just fine. Now, what I want to do is notice that I renamed that page, and that's not showing up. So that means that it must be in cache from what I had before. And so by refreshing the page, it reloads the page. And now you can see if I were to get rid of some of these guys here, let's go ahead and get rid of this one. Let's go ahead and get rid of some of these others. Just see what we got going on here. Try to open up some of these pages here. I just have too much stuff here. Anyway, I hope you can see that it says Art196. So that's the tab that's been opened. Let's go ahead and I'll pull that off and maybe that will help so you can see a little bit better. Okay, there we go. So by pulling that off, you can see it's Art196-Spring 2021, my homepage, and it has been successfully published. And I was able to make that change, add that change. Now, anytime you add a change to any of this, for example, if I decided that I wanted to change, let's go ahead and change one little thing here. Maybe I want to add, I think the way that the book has set this is that where it says insert main heading here, I'm going to go ahead and close this real quick. But it says insert main heading here. I don't think there's enough padding in the top here. So I'm going to change that. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the CSS designer and where I have main.row article H1. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some changes to that. So I have show set, and you can see that we have 15 pixels for the margin along the bottom, but maybe I'll put 15 pixels along the top, or maybe at least 10. So I'm going to put 10 pixels so that it, it pushes it down a little bit from the top. Now this is a minor change. There we go. Yeah, 10 pixels. So there's a little bit more space along the top here. It looks insignificant. It's a minor change. But what I have done is that not only have I changed the page, but I've changed the CSS. So I'm going to go ahead and and you'll notice up here where it says index that there's no asterisk. I have not made a change to that, but you'll notice in the top here where it says greenstyles.css, a little asterisk. That means that I have made changes to that. So I'm going to go to File, Save All. Make sure that that's saved. And now, in order to reflect that change in the browser, I need to bring that back up. So let's go back up to Files. And really, the only thing that I need to change is the CSS, the green styles CSS. Okay, so since I've only changed that, I don't have to replace everything. I just have to take the green style CSS, drag it on top of the old one that I have to replace it. And when it's done, I'm good to go. Now I go back to my page let's make sure that I have that page. Okay. And you can see this is the old one. Now all I have to do is refresh the page and see if it reflects the change. And it's not showing up. That's not good. So you know what? Maybe I do need to let's go ahead and replace that page. Let's go back and do that. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to take index.html and I'm going to go ahead and drag it on top here just to make sure that all the changes have been made. Now let's go back again and let's refresh the page. And it's still not showing up. So what I need to do is I'm going to copy all of this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because sometimes this gets caught in cache. I'm going to go to history and I want to clear recent history. So probably, anything that's in cache. Time range, I don't want everything. How about in the last hour? I'll go ahead and clear that. Now let me go ahead and refresh the page. There you go. So that can often happen is that when in your browser, that if the page remains in cache, it downloads the page and it keeps it there. Because it's not that often that, major changes occur. And so so that doesn't have to refresh and download every time you open the page, it will be in cache. But for those of us who are making the changes to our pages, and we want to make sure that they are reflected, those changes, then that's what you sometimes have to do. Sometimes just refreshing the page will do the job. Other times you have to clear the cache so that it clears it out of the cache of the browser. And then you can go ahead and refresh the page and you can see that that change has been reflected. And I like that a little bit better. So I've made a couple of minor changes here, but every time you make a change, you have to upload and refresh the page. Okay. So that's pretty much it. That's what I have for today. Show you how to do that. Is there anything else that you would like me to review? I have another 15 minutes or so that I can work with you. Then I have a meeting that I have to attend. No questions? Well, let me go ahead and I'm going to pause. This is a really critical stage in web design, being able to successfully publish your page. Because if something goes wrong, I'm reluctant to do something that I shouldn't do, because it's really hard to repair it. But let me try to do something anyway in the minutes that we have left here. So let me go to, let's click here and bring this up. I'll tell you what, let's say, for example, I have Bootstrap CSS here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove it. And you can see that it really goofs up the page. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add Bootstrap. So I'm going to create, I want to attach an existing file. I'm going to browse, and it should automatically go to lesson 7. Okay, but what if I accidentally uploaded lesson 6? Okay, and I went inside and I looked at the CSS inside there. Okay, and I took that and I opened that. Okay, Now it says this file is outside of the root folder of your file and may not be accessible when you publish it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can get this to fail. It says, would you like to copy the file here? Well, I'm going to forcibly say no. Click OK. Now it fixes it locally. So I'm good to go. And I have the Bootstrap here. But if I were to publish this, so let's go ahead and publish this. So I'm going to go ahead and with the CSS in here, there's that Bootstrap. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace the CSS here. So I'll put it in htdocs. Let me go ahead and first delete this one. Okay. And I'm going to, that one, and I'll remove it. And I'm going to replace it with this one. Now let's go back to my page. Whoops, wrong page. Oh, it's the one up here. My mistake. Let's go back here. And let's refresh the page and see what I get. You know what? It's not refreshing it. So let's go to history. Let's clear history. And let's go back last hour. And now let's refresh. No, I didn't get it to fail. Maybe it copied it after all. But if this were to come up and not work properly, you know, when I want things to fail, I can't get them to fail. And when I don't want them to fail, they fail. Such is case. What I should do, though, is I should come back here just to be on the safe side. And I'm going to hide this just to be on the safe side. And where I have the CSS here, because very often this is what, you know, a problem that will arise. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. Okay, and this is what I was hoping it would look like on screen. That if I have accidentally linked this folder to one that's external to my root folder, it's in another root folder, then this is what it should look like. Okay, and that's clearly couldn't get it to fail. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to add this, and I'm going to attach an existing one. And I'm going to browse and make sure that it's the one that's inside lesson 7. Okay, so let's go to CSS in here. And let's put that inside there. Okay. So I don't know if that's current or not. But anyway, I might have to go back a few steps. In fact, let me go and do a few steps. I want to go back to the original one that I had. So I'm using Command Z to undo several steps. No, I'm going to have to go with it, and hopefully that's taking that one back. So, you know, that's when you run the risk of goofing things up. Notice that the insert main heading here has been changed. So let me go back and redo some of these. And the title that I added was removed and everything. So I'm going to go back and make all those changes. To redo all of those changes. Save. And also save all. But it can really foul you up. And I'm just by doing this, by showing you how things could look when they were goofed up. It's quite possible that, you know, I have messed this up. So let me go back to my published page. There's the published page. Let's refresh again, see what happens. No, it's looking just fine. So I couldn't get it to fail, but it's working really nicely. And that's what I want. That's what you want. And this is what you should be sending me. And when I resize this, all of this should be visible. That the media query that we added should be accessible from here. Okay. So that ends our lesson for today. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. So anyway, once you have uploaded your page, email me a link to your published lesson. You'll get full credit, 20 points for that, provided everything works. And then you will use the same site to publish lessons 11 and 12. And you'll just overwrite what you already have. Now you can go in, a couple more things here. Let me go back to what I have here, and let me go back. Let me go back to the control panel and see what I have. I didn't want that because you'll notice that this pertains to this particular website. So let me go back to what I had used before. I got to find my way here. Let's go back to Infinity Free. And I need to go back to Infinity Free Home. Well, let's go to Client Area. You'll notice that I have space for two websites. I have one for Art 196 and one for website for Art 196 Spring 2021. Well, you can create additional websites from here, okay? If I want to create an account or a new one, I can do so. And this is a totally separate folder for us. So this is where, when we start to work on our MobiRise website, we will be building it locally, and you'll want to publish it. Then you'll publish it on a separate one here. As I said, if I go ahead and I click on this one and I manage it, we'll see what we get. That might be the one that I was just using. So let me go back and let's go back again. Let's look at this one. Let's manage this one. So let me look at the file manager here and see what I can find. Okay, let's look in HT access, HT docs, open, and see what I have. Yeah, this is an index2.html files to be uploaded here. So this is the second one that I have that I will use for my MobiRise website that I will be creating for this class. Okay, the other one, if I go back again, let's go back again. Let's go back. It was this one that I was using. So I'm going to go ahead and manage that. And again, let's go to the file manager. And let me look at htdocs. And I'm going to go ahead and open that folder. And this is where I put all of them this morning. Here's the CSS, here are the fonts, here are the images, here are the JavaScript, here's the green styles, CSS, and here's the index.html. So this is the one that I just edited today. Okie doke. Okay, So if there is nothing more, I need to go to a meeting. And on Tuesday, what we will be doing is that I had a request to look at some of your Wix websites before you turn them in. We can do that. If you're having issues with publishing lesson 7, we can address that. What I also wanted to do was introduce MobiRise. So there's a lot of things that I want to do next week before we introduce the next lesson in our textbook, lesson 8, which is working with templates. Okay. So if there aren't any questions, if we're good for today, then I'll say goodbye and I will pause the recording, and this will be published shortly. Okay. And made available on my website or my YouTube channel. Okay, for this class. Okay, we good? Okie doke. Bye-bye.